Greetings everyone, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, here to bring you another retro review from past seasons of the Loud House. In today's video, we take a look at the season 4 episode where Lana was featured at her best and her twin Lola had no involvement whatsoever. Today's episode is titled Wheel and Deal. First we'll discuss the plot and then my thoughts and critiques with my final score. So, let's get right into it. In this episode, Lana wants Lincoln to be her co-driver in the Royal Woods Go-Kart Grand Prix, where the winner gets to take a ride with race car legend Bobby Fletcher. However, when looking at the vehicle his sister made from scratch, Lincoln fears Lana will be humiliated by losing to Chandler and the other competitors who bought their cars. On the day of the race, Lincoln and his friends secretly help Loud Lightning have a better chance at winning, but Lana catches on to their plan and decides to go back to the starting line and compete the way she wanted to all along. The episode ends with Loud Lightning crossing the finish line in the dark, and despite losing, I think, Bobby Fletcher congratulates Lana for being the only racer for using a homemade car, and agrees to help fix it up after their attempt to drive it one last time literally falls apart. Well, that concludes the plot of the episode, so now we come to my thoughts and critiques. Most of the time, episodes focusing on Lana will either involve her twin Lola, where their polar opposite personalities play off one another, or they will involve animals. And she's a girl who really loves animals. But this episode right here doesn't involve any of those things. No, this episode taps into the side of her character that we never see too often, the only other time being Snow Way Out, and that would be her mechanical and competitive side. This episode reconfirmed how talented she is at not only working on cars, but also being able to build one from the ground up. And she's only 6-7 years old. She could have been like everyone else and just buy an already built car, but that's not how Lana wanted to roll, pun intended. The fact she was able to make a fully functioning go-kart, minus a failed turbo boost, that could go around a racetrack not once but twice at top speed is absolutely incredible. What's even more incredible and admirable is how she cares about the spirit of competition so much that she wasn't going to take the easy way to victory by purchasing an already built go-kart, even though she realistically had no chance at winning in Loud Lightning given who and what she was up against. Now you might be thinking, she cares about competition enough not to cheat? Then explain her wanting to win that burger wrapper in Snow Way Out. Yes, on the surface, Lana was willing to sneak free burgers into her hands by trying to reuse a coupon over and over before getting busted, but winning the wrapper wasn't a contest about who was the best. That contest was more rooted in taking a chance and getting lucky, while this Grand Prix was more about proving who's the fastest and best racer. And you see, what each of these contests come down to is the real prize at the end, and that would be meeting Bobby Fletcher, Lana's idol. Chandler, and assuming all the other competitors as well, only wanted to win the race and couldn't care less about meeting Bobby. Sort of like how Flip only wanted that burger wrapper so he could sell it for money and nothing more. Lana, on the other hand, respected the integrity of both competitions where meeting her idol was something she genuinely wanted to do, and she wasn't going to cheat her way to the top because, in this episode, we find out Bobby built her own car from scratch too. Lana wanted to win with a go-kart she could proudly say she built herself and drove under its own power. She believed in Loud Lightning enough to think she could actually win, which seems a little delusional when you realize it probably only had enough power to win if she was up against other homemade vehicles. Still, her getting mad at Lincoln for what he did and coming to a stop before crossing the finish line was perfectly understandable. She wanted to win, of course, but she wanted to win on her terms, not his. Even Lincoln had to admit Lana wanting to go back to the starting line and drive around the racecourse the way she intended to all along was honorable, and I deeply respected her for doing that, even though she knew she wasn't going to win. Or so it seemed? Anyway, since I brought him up, let's talk about Lincoln. You could say he was the true antagonist of this episode, not so much Chandler since he didn't have a bone to pick with anyone, but actually Lincoln is presented as a protagonist with underlying and deceitful motives for winning, but laced with good intentions. He knew Lana would have absolutely no chance at winning a race where every other car was bought from a catalog, and Lana honorably refusing to even consider buying one only made him more apprehensive. It's not that Lincoln was being selfish and that he cared about winning more than her. He thought Lana was going to look foolish coming in last place with a car he imagined breaking down, and that Bobby Fletcher would never respect Lana as a result from losing in such an embarrassing way. The other problem is Lincoln didn't have as much trust in Loud Lightning as Lana did, and he believed she wouldn't be on a fair and even leveled playing field as the other drivers. To be completely honest, he wasn't wrong to have his friends get involved in trying to sabotage the race if it meant giving Lana the edge she clearly needed to stand even a smidge smidgen of a chance at winning. Although I do question how no other spectators realized how the race was being manipulated along the way, and how Lana clearly drove out of the bushes and back onto the main road, all in plain sight of the other drivers. The fact the other cars were still able to catch up, and how they quickly overtook Lana after she slammed on her brakes, proves that Lincoln's attempt to cheat was the only way to make sure the Grand Prix was more competitive, but not a total one-sided affair that would raise a lot of suspicion. Still, a brand new car engine versus one you got from the junkyard. I think the math speaks for itself. Either way, Lana knew she couldn't stay mad at Lincoln for long. She knew he was only looking out for her, as all big brothers would, and hey, she wouldn't have chosen him to be her co-driver if he wasn't that good at playing racing games. Now we come to my last positive, which would be Bobby Fletcher, and she brings up what many consider as a plot hole to the episode, but is it really? First off, I really liked how Bobby was willing to stay at the racetrack well into the night just to see Lana and Lincoln complete the course under Loud Lightning's own power. She even congratulated them for being the only team to build their own car, and that's where the supposed plot hole is revealed. According to the official Wikia page, it says every other driver besides Lana and Lincoln should have been disqualified for using purchased cars if the race was meant to only feature cars that were homemade. On the one hand, that rule is never officially stated in the episode, so Lincoln referring to the other drivers as cheaters is a little unfair of an accusation, considering how his actions during the race were way more dishonest. But on the other hand, the rule may have been hinted at during Lincoln's fantasy where Lana mentions how she was the only one to build her own car. Still, the same fantasy features other racers standing on the victory pedestals, and no one is exactly telling them they cheated by using cars from a catalog. On top of that, Bobby started the race and clearly saw all the catalog purchased cars at the lineup and didn't say anything. There's also no flashback to where all the other racers crossed the finish line and being told by Miss Fletcher they don't have legitimate wins since their cars were not homemade. My only theory to this plot hole would be since there was never an official rule regarding the use of homemade and purchased cars being stated for the record, technically the first driver to cross the finish line would be declared the winner of the race, but they forfeit the prize of taking a ride with Miss Fletcher if their winning vehicle wasn't made from scratch. Since Lana's car was the only homemade vehicle in the race, this famous racer waited for her to come back so she could not only give her the earned privilege of riding with her, but for Lana to be doubly awarded by being the one to do the driving. Sure, that little car broke down before they could move, but Bobby was willing to help Lana get it fixed up, so that's a plus. I know it seems like I'm complicating everything with this storyline plot hole, but it's definitely something to think about. No matter what, Lana still got to sit side by side with her idol and was able to give her the custom helmet she made, and we all know Bobby would never refuse such a token of appreciation. Overall, this episode really is Lana's best out of every episode she's ever had. She respects Bobby Fletcher and the spirit of racing so much that she'd rather lose in a car she can call her own than win with a car that didn't come from the heart. Her collective performance throughout the episode was that of honor and determination, and it's highly respected in my book. I also give credit to Lincoln for looking out for his little sister, even if he knew cheating to give her the much needed edge was going to make both of them look bad, and that goes double when you remember how his cheating took place in plain sight of other drivers. And finally, Bobby Fletcher and her congratulatory words of reassurance just tied everything together. She knew a dedicated racer when she saw one, and she knew Lana had the competitive grit she was looking for. The plot hole regarding the rules of what cars were allowed to compete in the race can be a little conflicting depending how you choose to look at it, but if anything, Lana was the true winner of the race despite everything. She didn't need to cross the finish line to prove it though. She proved it through hard work and believing in herself and Loud Lightning. That's something you can't not respect. With that said, I give Wheel and Deal a 9.9 out of 10. Well folks, that concludes my review of Wheel and Deal. It may not be a perfect episode in terms of complete storyline execution, but in my opinion, it's a perfect example of what kind of character Lana is, and when your famous race car idol sticks around just to see you finish a race that ended a long time ago, you know you're in their good graces, and that's not a prize you can put on a shelf. So what did you guys think of it? Love it? Hate it? Something you would add? Change? Keep it as it is? Let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe to this channel for the latest Loud House content. That's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys for the next video, but until then, this is SteamTeamRedubUK, CC Trainor-Ling, signing off. Peace out, home slices.